things just took a shocking turn. Most of the focus this offseason has been on new additions and roster battles, but one unexpected storyline is emerging on special teams. There's been noticeable inconsistency, and now questions are being raised about kicker Tyler Bass, who appears to be struggling in the first few days of training camp. My name is Maeve Miller, and I'm a part of the Bills Digest team, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bills Digest. So since training camp has started, there's definitely been reports on Bass, and of course other players. And this is the main one that emerged yesterday. It says Tyler Bass dealing with soreness in pelvis area, according to Sean McDermott. TBD if he practices today. And this was McDermott did a huge injury list, and there was like a lot of people were on it. Shockingly, like this tweet says like Kincaid, Knox was on it, and Bass was one of those people at the end that they're not so sure about him. But I think what's more concerning is not just his injury, but also his performance at training camp. In this tweet from Bill's Muse, it says that he was 4 of 8 today. He missed 3 40-plus yarders and a 50-yarder. It was raining and there was some wind. So, yeah, there's a little bit of excuse. But I think it's really concerning to have, a kicker that's been on that team for 5 years and he's missing 40-yard field goals. Obviously, 50-yarder is not as expected, but even those you would want your kicker to make. And I just feel like this does line up with the inconsistencies we're seeing in training camp line up with how he is as a player. He's a great guy. Everybody loves him. But when he gets on that field, he goes from everything from missing extra points to missing 30-yarders, and then will make a 55-yarder. So it's like, I feel like it's kind of confusing to watch as a fan because, there's a lot of backlash. But he does come through most of the time. But I just think that these reports out of training camp, whether it's the injury, the weather, I don't know if it's neither of those things or both, but like clearly something is affecting him, or he's just not on his game. He had a very strong start, I feel like, and I'm just not so sure about him. And that's why I want to kind of talk about just some of his highlights, notable moments while he's been on the Bills. And I would say the biggest one that was a positive thing was last November. He set the franchise record for a 61-yard field goal against the Dolphins, and he ended up winning the game for them. And it was definitely an emotional moment because at that time he wasn't playing his best, and obviously like I said, the fans, there's a lot of backlash that were going on, and his teammates, even Josh Allen, said he got emotional after that because they just believe in him so much and they know he can do it, but obviously it's not translating as well on the field. And previously, he made a 58-yard field goal that set his own record. So he did have some very strong moments. Also in 2022, he scored 141 points, which made him one of the highest single season scoring records for the Bills. And he definitely started off, I feel like, he was a rookie in 2020. The Bills had him, and he definitely was a little more of a clutch player. And he got off to a rocky start for sure in 2020, but he ended up being 28 for 34 on field goals, and really showed that he was clutch during some bad weather moments against the Ravens in the playoffs. And then in 2022, that was his best season. He was 27 of 31 for field goals. So I feel like it's just been a little bit inconsistent, we'll say. Obviously, we have to talk about the wide right moment. This was in the 2024 AFC divisional round. As you can see, it's 27-24, is over a minute left on the clock, and Bass misses it. This was heartbreaking beyond a lot of the Bills' losses, and there's been a lot of heartbreaking losses. This is probably top 3 of my life, I think. Obviously, I wasn't around for the original wide right, but it just, I feel brought up a lot of bad memories. This is even comparing Scott Norwood to Tyler Bass, which is just very harsh, but I feel like a lot of fans did have some PTSD. I know my parents did. But this was definitely a tough moment, and he got a lot of hate for this. It was a 44-yard attempt, and like I said, he missed it, and the Chiefs, with the time almost running out, they were able to, kneel it and win the game. But ultimately, Bass took a lot of the blame for that, and he even said that it's on him. But all the other players like Allen and McDermott were it was not all on him. But I feel like fans really, took to hating on him a lot. And this was some of the things that were said about him. It says he's got to go, just too much of a liability to us. I love Bass, but I can't keep protecting him. And I feel like that's kind of where my mindset is at. I love him. I know he's a great guy, but I want a kicker that can make it and not make me have to go like this every time he is about to kick. And this next one said maybe a kicker to bring in, just one that's better right now. And then it's sad because I really have loved Bass. He's a great dude, but he's just not producing at this point. it isn't just a one-off. He's gone downhill, which I hate for him and for us, but he simply hasn't played good enough. Time for a change. So I feel like I do agree with a lot of those tweets, is that like it's nothing against his person. We know he's a great person, but it's just the performance-wise. So, and in this, he said, this was after, this was during the article about him missing that field goal. It said Bass finished the regular season and postseason with his lowest field goal percentage in his 4-year career at 76%. But Coach McDermott said after the game that they have full confidence in Bass. The coach also pointed to the Bills' defense and special teams not playing the way we needed to. So obviously the coach is not going to blame Bass when, the offense and the defense could have been a little better. But I thought this was definitely a big moment in Bass's career where, kind of showed that he's got to step up. And 76% is not high enough. And obviously he knows that. But it is nice to see that, like, everyone does have his back, even with his poor performance. But I feel like as fans, it is getting a little bit confusing because we want a player that's going to be, not missing extra points or field goals. And that's where I feel like I have an issue is, like, he does make that 61-yard field goal, but then he misses a 28-yard field goal. I feel like that just shouldn't be happening. It makes extra points. It does add up. And, like with the AFC divisional, a field goal or an extra point is the difference between winning and losing a game. So I just feel like at this moment, I don't really trust him as a kicker. And I feel like seeing these reports coming out of training camp that there hasn't been many changes does stress me out a little bit, which is why I kind of want to talk about should the Bills add a backup. And I'm really curious to what you guys think. Obviously, they've trusted Bass for a long time. He's been their kicker for 5 years. But there was a little bit of an issue. This was back when he's missing those field goals. October 2024, the Bills did bring in Lucas Haversick, and just to kind of compete with Bass and to kind of stoke those flames, I think, under Bass to get him to play a little more. And a lot of times that does work when you put up two guys. It usually makes one play a little better. And Lucas was not a very strong candidate. I feel like he was 75% on field goals. But McDermott was definitely concerned about Bass's performance. He even said that, quoted, yes, I am concerned. And I feel like this definitely helped because they ended up releasing Lucas after a couple of weeks, and Bass became their full-time guy again. Even though Lucas never played in the game, but by November, they realized that Bass was their guy. So I think that might have helped, but honestly, not enough to where, he's being consistent. So that's why it brings up the point of bringing in maybe another kicker. Bass's contract is through 2027, so we do have, full 2-3 seasons with him. But there was, I just Googled, free agent kickers, and there was definitely, ones that came up. We have one from the Panthers, Packers, Titans. So there are definitely options out there, and I feel like if the time comes where Bass is playing that poorly, there will be, I trust Beane and McDermott to be able to come in and bring in a replacement. But obviously we'll be seeing what happens with training camp and how that goes in the future. But I feel like as of right now, it's not a very strong look at Bass. As McDermott had said, he was TBD if he was practicing. So I feel like today and tomorrow we'll be able to find out more if he was indeed practicing, if the injury had anything to do with the missed kicks, or if he just felt like something was off. Honestly, I do hope that he is a strong kicker for us. I want him to play well. We do have him under contract for the next couple of years. But if he keeps on playing how he had in the last 2 years, I think it would be time to cut him because I just don't think it's worth it. As fans, you need a reliable kicker, and I just feel like we've never really had that. So yeah, we'll keep on watching from training camp and providing more reports and updates. Once again, please subscribe to our Bills Digest YouTube channel @Bills Digest, and thank you for watching. Go Bills!